it's of a lesser importance, well, which is generally not required because we don't have power cuts in this country to it. But I think the point I would make is you can not have a bath and not have a shower, and if there's a problem. So I mean, they don't. I mean, I have one in my own house. I've never had any problem for 6 years.
And if I could add something to that, Sam, my parents, now my mother, lived at number 20 Western Road since 1982. There's probably about 5 houses along there, of which the houses on Cromwell Road are higher, elevated. In that 40-year-odd years, none of these houses on Western Road have had a problem with sewage coming from any of the houses on Cromwell Road. So I don't really see how it should be any different to this one. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I think we've questioned that now. So thank you very much for your time and your presentation.
Thank you. Do we remain here or go back now? Right. Thank you. Thank you.
Right, we now go back to the planning officer for questions. Can I start? On minimum page 55, you're showing the 21 metres. The plan that was shown up on there, doesn't appear to be in our papers.
Yeah,
Showing the 20-metre one.
I'm not clear why that wasn't attached to the.
So speak up a bit.
I'm not clear why that wasn't attached to the agenda. It's referenced in the report, and it's also online in the application file with the particular plan, but it's further illustration.
Yeah, well, my question is on page 55 on my reports anyway. The distance is taken from an upstairs window, from a bedroom window, not from the downstairs one. So it'll be considered less.
That's drawing SK01, which was part of the previous agenda and the appendices. For some reason,
it was there. It's not there now. So we are certainly less than 21 metres.
We're less than 21 metres from that window relationship there. To the distance to window 1 and the ground floor is less than 21 metres, but it's looking hardly a directly facing relationship. It's actually facing towards number 7. It's looking diagonally across towards the ground floor accommodation, across part of number 7's garden and the vegetation. There's also,
so it is less than 21.
That's less than 21 metres, and I would argue that's not the type of back-to-back relationship which is envisaged in the design guide, where it's looking at things which
I don't think the design guide says that.
Chair, I am granted printed copies of the planning applications, and I have this on Appendix C, and it shows that dimension as 21.16 metres.
Yes, but that's not to the ground floor. That's to the bedroom.
That's from the recess. That's from the recess first floor window.
Recess first floor window.
I see.
Yeah, that was showing to the ground floor, which is less than 21 metres. And if we've got rules, then we should keep our rules. I don't see.
Please remember the design guide is a guide.
It's a guide.
Yeah, it's not a rule.
Yeah. And it's referring to directly facing windows. Well, this is at an angle. If you were to apply it, then you'd be applying the distance to number 7 from the neighbour's window there, which is directly facing number 7 rather than the application.
Yeah. So I'm not going to suspect you to apply it to buildings already there and say that's too close and take it down. It is from now, and that's what it. Yeah. Okay. Right. Sorry, we're into questions for the officer. I'm sure there's loads of them.
I just had one in regards to this. Because they're relying on, look like laurel in the next door's garden, which could come down and would probably need to come down and be reduced, and which would then create a direct site.
Yes, but
I don't know how that works with rules.
Well, there is also proposed planting going in the rear of the site as well, which and boundary treatments yet to be determined, which could involve a slightly higher rear boundary treatment in the form of a trellis or fencing. Certainly there's a new tree proposed. That's in the application site, the one shown indicatively on the plan. All this would further filter or further obscure any intervisibility between those two windows. It's a matter of judgment ultimately, but I don't think that breaching the design guide recommendation because it's looking at it at an angle. The field of view is no different than the standing at the first floor looking across down into another property. They're looking up, vice versa.
Okay. Any more questions?
Also,
Anybody
they're
heard
not
enough?
really that different to looking into somebody's garden as well.
Yeah.
These are fairly
Everybody's heard enough from the planning officer. Looking pensive, Ed. No, okay, all right. We've asked all our questions. Oh, sorry, I didn't go to Ken as a ward councillor, asking if he wanted to speak as a ward councillor. No, he doesn't. Thank you very much. I'm looking for a proposal then. Councillor Higgins.
I'm going to propose that we support the officer's recommendation in this instance.
Officer's recommendation for approval.
Yes.
Is that seconded? Councillor Norman. A local debate. Is there any debate? No debate. No debate. Go back to Councillor Norman.
Just, I think I should speak, and obviously I know both parties. The only thing I would say about this, that we have over the past couple of years passed applications even narrower than, and that's not a reason to support this. If it was me, could I change the design of being a building? Yeah, I probably could do actually. But as you say, we can only talk about what's in front of us this evening. I was hoping for a bigger debate before I made my mind up. So if anybody else would like to speak, I'll listen even more.
Thank you. Councillor Sadler.
Yeah, I think it is very challenging. It was interesting going through some of the technical stuff, and I do really feel for the neighbours. I think it's obviously an unwanted change, and I completely get that. But I don't think there's, if I'm honest, I don't think there's anywhere to go with it. I think it is a kind of reasonable plan. So
Okay.
For it. Yeah.
Councillor Bealer.
A little bit in. I think it's important, especially in a town like Henley, have some different types of dwellings for people to live in. And so, that there's Cromwell Road, clearly very large villages down there, and for people who, on their own or need smaller dwellings and starting off in housing, I think we have to have mixed that kind of housing in towns like Henley, especially. So, again, I like Ed. I do feel it is clearly timed, but I think on the balance of everything we've heard this evening, things like the diagonal view sight line and everything, it just about goes through for me.
Okay. I'll go to Councillor Norman, who seconded this, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
Yes, you did. You're to speak now.
Yes, really just to say that, everything which comes to planning committees is by definition contested and difficult and a matter of judgment. And in this case, I agree with the officer's analysis that on the balance of harms and benefits, this should be supported.
Okay, thank you. I'll go back to Councillor Higgins to sum up.
Not an enormous amount to add. Clearly, we're here to do our duty on the, on the grounds we are, we're allowed to consider. We're not here to appoint ourselves, architectural critics or try and second guess some of the, the detailed work that's being done by our obviously well qualified officers. So I haven't personally, although I completely empathise with some of the concerns, and I'm reassured by some of the answers around the soak away and the fact it's being tested to a higher standard. I haven't personally heard anything to concern me enough to look to override the recommendation of officers.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Higgins. The next thing is to go to the vote. So we have a proposal to officers recommendation for approval. All those in favour, please show. 3, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, 7 against, 1 against, and 1 sat on the fence.
And I never do this.
Okay, so that is approved. Thank you.
Jack, can I just pop to the toilet?
You can, I think, for our toilet break anyway. Yeah.
SODC.
25/415 Manor House Chair, and it's Simon Kitson again.
And it feels, very data.
You can't up there now. You do reception.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, it's very good. Don't get it working. Slow. Didn't connect to the main Wi-Fi for some reason. Right, the application before the committee seeks full planning permission and lists the building consent for the conversion of the office buildings property in Chinner to provide 3 flats. List the building consent sought for the associated works to the part of the adjoining listed building. Number 4. This is an exact resubmission of an earlier 2022 permission, which expired earlier this year. It's here because Chinner Parish Council have raised an objection. The report sets out in detail the case for granting planning and listed building consent, and will highlight a few key points. Since the previous approval, it has been established that planning permission is not required for the conversion of the main building at Moorland House into 2 residential flats. This was confirmed via the prior approval process earlier this year. Plans now on the scheme show the approved permitted development scheme. So this is the layout proposed for the current application for 3 flats. These are the same plans which accompanied the 2022 application. By contrast to the PD scheme, there would also be communal amenity space in excess of the 40 square metres recommended within the design guide. Highways are satisfied with the level of parking provision and they raise no objection. This is the floor plan and the proposed. The floor spaces in each flat accords with the National Described Space Standards. Officers consider there's no material change in the relevant development plan requirements against which the previous approved application was assessed. There are material planning considerations which outweigh the conflict with the development plan and neighbourhood plan policies covering loss of employment. This was the case with the previous scheme. And it includes the PD fallback position, the greater contribution towards housing supply, and the heritage benefits. These points are covered at paragraphs 7.3 to 7.6 of the report. The Conservation Officer considered that the proposal would better reveal the significance of the listed building, which was originally in residential use and outwardly has the appearance of a dwelling. These points are covered at paragraph 7.8. Put this into context, this is the front of the site. Moorland House and the link, the unlisted buildings, are to the right. The listed part of the site is highlighted in blue. Formerly part of a dwelling, this has since been used as a toilet block and storage area serving the office. Under the current proposal, it would again be converted to residential use. Existing site entrance, which would be retained. This is the existing link extension, which would have a slate roof and solid walls with timber casement windows, replacing the glazing. And the rear of the site containing the existing parking area and workshop building, which would be demolished. The site would be partly landscaped to accommodate the amenity area, bike storage, and retain parking for 5 cars. Don't have anything else to add. The application is recommended for approval in line with the report.
Okay, thank you, Simon. Okay. We have no registered speakers. Ward councillors are Ed Sutherland and Ali Gordon Creed. No speakers, members of the committee. Yeah,
Yeah,
okay,
please.
all right. So are there any questions for the planning officer?
how did you get the pictures with no cars in them?
The ones from the main.
I see
Right,
an answer.
right,
Let's see if we can move on. No questions for him, so I'm looking for a proposal. Councillor Bidder,
I propose we accept the officer's recommendation.
thank you very much. Is that seconded? Yes, yes, it is. Councillor Arnold, I'll take that. Thank you. Okay. Wish to speak now, Councillor Arnold?
No, I find it fine.
No, is there any debate? Yeah. Councillor Sadler.
So again, Councillor Jackie Webb wrote a fairly long report about the reasons why we should refuse it. Again, there's the neighbourhood plan issue. There's a lots of businesses using, which is one of the key areas. Of course, I note that it sits on Station Road, and that's a kind of bit of a joke because it goes up to the station, which of course is a steam train. So there's no viable public transport in the area. You have to use cars, so that's just adding more residents to an already congested town. Village, which is now becoming a town with no public transport to speak of. So yeah, more parking spaces, more people, just shoehorn them all in. That's all China needs is more unsuitable housing.
Okay. We've seen you defending your village.
Absolutely.
Is there any further debate? Is there no further debate?
Just a question, so that in the Chinna neighbourhood plan, I think there is reference to a need for employment within. This is a question for the officer. Would that be a material planning consideration?
I think we've moved past question, but I'll let him answer.
I do beg your pardon.
Yeah, that is covered in the report. Yes, it does conflict with the employment policy, both in terms of the local plan and the neighbourhood plan. But there is an extent pro-approval for all the office to be turned into flats under permitted development. This scheme is nearly replicating that and converting the small section of listed building back into a residential use. That's a material planning consideration that I think carries significant weight. And I would add that the parish council apparently supported that position when this was last before the council. They raised no objection, and it was assessed against exactly the same development plan policy.
Thank you.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
I can't remember who proposed
I
it.
proposed it.
You proposed it, so I'll go to Councillor Arnold if you wish to speak.
No, well, yeah, I'll tell you what I love about this application. I really, really, really love it. You've got car park spaces. All these people around here, they vote for all these flats in Henley with no car park spaces. So that's my prime reason for supporting that, because there's car park spaces for the residents.
Okay, thank you. I'll go back to Councillor Beard to sum up.
I think he's trying to make me pull out. Yeah, well, Councillor Sadler, you changed your tune slightly on that, on car parking spaces, because obviously we had an application in Tame, which we tried to make that zero car. And I dearly love this to be zero car, so we would have all these extra car movements through Chinna. But you said that that's a benefit for this to have loads of cars. Although I don't understand your position. But I think fundamentally, I would issue in saying I support this, a word of advice to Chinna would be to sort of pick your fights, especially if you're not going to come to planning committee. I think it's really quite offensive for us to give up our time. I'd quite like to get home to watch Traitors, but I'll put that aside tonight because I'm here doing public service. And if you, I see it as public service, okay, and we've got lots of Chinna applications, and I do acknowledge that they've sent in a report for each one, but. If they really genuinely feel aggrieved about this, somebody ought to be here from the parish. And this one is particularly egregious because it was already approved. They didn't object last time. It's just wasting our time, genuinely wasting our time. So I think there's
Okay, right, we've got to take two votes on this one. One's a full application, so we'll do that first. So P25 S1415 full. All those in favour What is the recommendation? Please show. 2, 3, 4, 5. Sorry, yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Is it? I think that's 8. I think. And P25 S1416 listed buildings. All those in
Sorry.
favour?
Not all those against the previous.
All against?
Yeah.
Thank you.
You won't lose any friends in Chile.
Sorry, I said it again. P25 S1416 listed buildings. All those in favour, please show. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's 8. Yeah. 8. And against? 4. Okay, let's move on. We're still in Chile. P25 S1091. And the planning officer has changed. It's now Paul Lucas. Paul. Where is he? Behind you. Behind you. I'm not there yet. It's still October. Although I've just put the pantomime in Oxford.
Oh, no, you haven't.
Yeah.
What's the next one? What order are we going in?
We're on agenda item 10. Oh, 10.
Thanks.
It's basically
Whoops, okay.
Yeah, it's 75.
Okay.
Yeah,
Ready? Yeah,
ready.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Chair. This application seeks full planning permission for the demolition of 1 dwelling and erection of 10 dwellings. Since the committee report was published, the applicant has lodged an appeal with the planning inspectorate under section 78 of the Town and Country Planning Act of 1990 for non-determination. This means that neither officers nor committee have the power to determine the application. Officers therefore request that the planning committee makes a resolution to state what the decision would have been for the purposes of any appeal. It is a material planning consideration that there is an extant planning permission on this site for the erection of 9 dwellings. That planning permission is identical to the proposal before the planning committee, apart from the inclusion of plot 10 in the form of a 2-bedroom bungalow, replacing the approved wildflower and tree area. Planning permission was previously refused for the erection of 10 dwellings, and a subsequent appeal dismissed on the grounds that a 2-storey dwelling on plot 10 would be harmful to the living conditions of the number 85 Lower Icknield Way. Due to the principle of development and the layout and form of the development being established by the extant planning permission, the key issue is the impact of the addition of plot 10. As outlined in paragraph 7.9 of the report, your officers consider that the visual impact on plot 10 on the character and the appearance of the locality would be acceptable. Although plot 10 would have a poor relationship with the adjoining silver birch trees on number 85 side of the boundary, at paragraph 7.10, Council's tree officer considers that these trees are of insufficient quality to warrant a tree preservation order, and therefore could not be regarded as a constraint to development. There are 6 photos taken from the rear garden of number 85 towards the location of plot 10. Your officers consider paragraph 7.14 that a reduction in the scale of plot 10 for a single-storey dwelling compared with the dismissed application for a 2-storey dwelling would address the inspector's concerns about the impact of the depth, height and bulk of plot 10 on the living conditions of number 85. The additional level of domestic and vehicular activity associated with the proposed dwelling would not be sufficient to warrant refusal of planning permission. Parking and access arrangements for plot 10 have been considered acceptable by the local highway authority. Your officers consider that the provision of an additional 2-bedroom dwelling would add to the mixture of 2, 3 and 4-bedroom dwellings in the development as a whole and would contribute towards the identified district-wide need in general conformity with local plan CH11 as discussed at paragraph 7.19 to 7.20. Matters relating to access and parking, mandatory biodiversity net gain, ecology, tree protection, landscaping, flood risk and drainage, and carbon reduction could all be dealt with through similar planning conditions to those found to meet the 6 tests and imposed on the extant planning permission by the inspector. The developer has completed a unilateral undertaking with the local highway authority to provide financial contributions towards the improvement of bus services in the Tinner area. Your officers considered the application would comply with the relevant development plan policies, and on that basis, it is recommended that had the council been able to determine the application, it would have resolved to grant planning permission subject to the planning conditions listed in the report.
Thank you, Paul. Okay, this is rather strange. I think it's the 3rd time this has been before the committee. effectively. We all most of remember the previous one, but so it was before us at a full 10. We refused it. That was refused on appeal. He came back and took out that 10th dwelling and left an area of garden, which we accepted. It's now come back and replaced that area of garden with a bungalow. So that's essentially what's happened. I've no speakers. 2 board members on the committee. They'll speak on the committee. So I'm looking at any questions for Paul.
Sorry, Chair, just a clarification before that. So you said we allowed it, but
No, it was allowed on appeal.
allowed on appeal. It was okay, fine. So we didn't allow the 9. It was allowed on appeal. Fine, just to clarify.
Sorry, got a statement. We have a statement from the parish council, but you've all read that, I presume. Yeah. Okay. Right. Are there any questions for the officer? Councillor.
Yeah, how do we stand for affordable houses on this scheme? Are we talking about 9 houses, or are we talking about 10 new houses? Because if it's 10, it's then 40% affordable. If it's 9, we lose the affordable. So if we're going to lose the affordable, will there be any Section 106 agreements where money,
I think they forgot,
goes to affordable?
No, so it's the net gain. So it's the net gain of 9, so it's below the threshold.
Exactly, that's what. Yeah, but the thing is with this, I could design this and put 12 on here quite easily. So the question I'm asking: does the applicant come along to put 9 on there, knowing full well they haven't got to give any properties to affordable? That's the question I'm asking. So if they're not going to give anything to affordable, should there be a Section 106 here where money is going to go to affordable units?
We can't enforce that, I don't think. But
We can't require it.
Sorry?
You can't require it because it's not, it meets policy, doesn't it? If they come in with 11 or 12 units, then your policy would trigger. They're required to provide affordable housing.
But surely this is what we've been trying to stop over the years. Developers coming in and building 9 houses. We're going to have one up in a few weeks' time for Ship Lake, where they built 9 houses, and they're going to put there's a piece of land behind, and there's another application going to come in for another 9. So you've got 18. That's right, 9 and 9, 18.
And when we,
So I just feel here,
it's a question, Ken. So
yeah, so we're literally being taken for a ride here because there's nothing we can do about it because they're coming in for 9. So how in the future can we stop this?
you can't change policy.
Did they come in for 10? Yeah. And if they came in for 10 originally, would that have meant they had to give 40%?
No, because it was 10 less 1. They were deleting 1.
9 there.
Building
If they go for 10, it's 40% affordable. Is it?
Yeah, if it was 10 new ones. Yeah, this is 10,
Are there places
but the losing ones, so it's
Slightly
only a
off
net gain of 9.
kind of relevant? Are there other councils who do a portion of any build affordable, or is it always a threshold of housing?
I think
It's set out in national legislation, so it's set out in the national policy basically that anything less than 10, there shouldn't be
can't enforce affordable.
Shouldn't be any affordable housing, or to be honest, other contributions as well. So it's clearly set out in the national.
Changing MPF is the answer to that.
I'd like to get a reminder himself on how mad it all is, but yeah.
Yeah. So that's the long question, Ben. So
Yeah, so just to clarify, so we're not making a decision. We are indicating what our decision
would have been if you were to make a decision.
Yeah, so what standing does our decision have, and why are we doing that?
Well,
It will assist the council in what stance it takes when the appeal papers come through. So we will, if we decide to grant planning permission, we will advise the inspectorate the decision the council would have made. If we decide to refuse permission, then we will set out reasons for refusal for us, and then the officers will use those to defend the council's case.
Okay. So, but the appeal's already been heard and granted.
No. The appeal's been. The appeal was only lodged a couple of days.
Oh, fine. So it's been allowed but not heard.
So he's appealing the planning inspector's decision, was he?
It's just been lodged.
This is a new application that's for the council. Prior to our ability to determine the application tonight, the applicant has taken it to appeal, so informed us from the inspectorate. That application is now at appeal.
Right.
So it doesn't. The other items that were at appeal or previous application previous applications, which are material considerations. So in this case, we're a situation where, had you been able to determine the application, we would like to know as officers what you would have done, because that puts us in a position to either defend the council's decision because you would have refused it, or if you are minded to approve it in line with the officer's recommendation, we will inform the inspector along those lines.
What,
We won't defend this.
So it'll just be straightforwardly allowed on appeal. Yeah. Sorry.
I believe we did refuse it because that 10th plot, we specifically said that was overlooking the neighbour's property. I realise this is a bungalow now.
Sorry, we're still in question.
No, but okay, so I'm asking the question. So I believe we refused it. So why ask the question again? I'm still sort of different by that.
It's a bungalow. Why has he come back with a bungalow when he's already got permission?
Yeah. Okay,
So that's the way some developers think.
The 2023 application had a house on plot 10.
Yes.
That was refused by committee for a number of reasons.
Yes.
The one reason the inspector agreed with when it went to appeal was the impact on number 10. So that was dismissed as
That's
appeal.
right.
So they had no permission for that.
And he said he would be minded to approve 9, which is why we then said okay for 9 because we had nowhere to go.
There was a second 2024 application that came in. That was also refused by the planning committee because at that point we didn't have the appeal decision. So they feel like they're putting the application too soon, really. So we didn't have the initial appeal decision. It was also refused on principle. It didn't have plot 10, so there wasn't a reason for that. It was just the principle of development. By the time that went to appeal, we had the first decision through, which said principle is acceptable. So we no longer contested that appeal. So the inspector then allowed that appeal. So that is the permission, which is for the net gain of 8. Houses without a plot 10. So that's the permission they have with no development of plot 10. Principal house has been refused and upheld at appeal. We've now got a bungalow. And so assessment of that is that the impact of that would be acceptable to the committee to consider whether they agree with that or not.
Can I just check something with Adrian? When this all first came round and it seemed clear to us that there was a plan. I thought I know in theory we can only look at the application before us, but I thought within our policy, SODC had a policy saying that we generally do not approve of developers taking advantage of the loopholes and doing this, getting out of their obligations with regards to the impact on community. I thought we had that.
You mean affordable housing?
Well, yes, whether it's the loophole of getting out of silt, affordable housing, whatever it is.
So there are circumstances in the policy where if a site is much bigger than this, and they're only developing part of it, and we're saying actually has the potential, or is an allocated site has the potential to be to provide a much bigger scheme of affordable housing, then yes, that can be triggered. That's not in this case.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, there are circumstances where it can happen, but that's not here.
Yeah.
What's coming up now?
Sorry, right. We're still in questions. Yeah, Councillor Beale.
What, and with any indication as to why he's jumped us and gone straight to appeal on it?
He's done it twice before.
But why?
Some developers do that, some developers don't. We don't know. That's the way the developer is.
The right is there.
I think it was on the agenda for the 8th. And when we didn't reach it on the 8th, then he...
No, that's the other one we already heard.
Oh, okay.
Wasn't
We don't know.
We don't know. Councillor Higgins.
Fine. So when we did turn down a 9, did we originally? We turned down a 10. Did we turn down the 9, or did that go straight to appeal?
There were 2. Yeah, there were 2 that were refused.
Yeah. So we turned down the 9. In turning down the 9, did the committee vote contrary to the officer's recommendation at the time?
Got confused now. Actually, I made a mistake. The second one, the 24 one, was actually a delegated decision because we had regard to what the view the committee had taken. We didn't have the appeal decision, so it was actually an officer-led decision that we refused it. So that
already
didn't come to committee. Do apologise.
The principle had been established.
Yeah.
Fine. Yeah. Okay. And I suppose just out of interest, as much as anything else, how much did
I think also to add to that, I think what Councillor Creed was there was issues over roadworks and sewage and all that lot, and we did put that in our refusal originally, but the inspector didn't accept it. Correct. And all the only reason why the inspector dismissed the appeal was on the outlook of this plot 10, whatever it is. So he didn't actually accept any of the other arguments. And we couldn't go back and go over those arguments again. Yeah. Councillor Norman.
Just, I don't know if you can answer this question, but given the wording of the inspector when they turned down the 10, when that was a two-story house, is it your view that an inspector will pass this on appeal, given the change that's now seen and given the wording that they used when they turned it down the first time?
Well, I can't really speak for the inspector, but what I can say is that officers have made an assessment of this. We've been to the neighbour's property, had a look. Our opinion, making a judgment, is that we feel that this proposal has addressed the previous inspector's concerns, the elements that they were concerned about, which very much focused on the two-storey massing of the proposal that was then.
I think also to add to that, the inspector will see this report and he will see that opinion.
Yes.
Yeah. So he'll know that what the officers think, and so he'll see this. Councillor Beard.
Were costs awarded against us when he approved his previous appeal?
No, I don't think there was an application.
I've asked enough.
Right, so I think we've questioned enough. Looking for a proposal. Councillor Beard.
I propose we accept officers' recommendations to be minded to approve.
Okay, that's seconded. Okay. Is there any debate on this? Because it's pretty obvious, it's straightforward. No debate?
I just wanted on record, we don't have a leg to stand on, but
No, I think that's
I understand, but
all right, I'll go. Sorry, Councillor Sadler.
Chin is suffering again.
Yeah, I just as a principle, we've refused 10 here before. We had some very good reasons for that. He got what he wanted. He had 9, but no, he's got to come back and build that other one. So basically, he's sort of in contempt of planning. Really, he just thinks that planning is a joke, and we can overturn any decision that we ever make. So that's how I see it. So I'm going to vote against it.
I'll say that's not. Sorry, I'm not going to speak on it. I'm going to go back now to the seconder. Let's see who wishes to speak.
Only briefly, in the hypothetical world, we might be hearing this. I mean, it seems the concerns have been addressed. So it would seem, that principle aside, it would seem we're on a bit of a hiding to nothing. And for me, I suppose going back to the first one, it sort of underscores the principle of thinking our battles, because clearly some of these these policy factors are overriding, and and the risk of being overturned at appeal is clearly real, and so go into that are real, and are a drain on us being able to do anything else for you as a council.
And we go back to the proposer.
Nothing to add.
Nothing to add. Okay, we'll proceed to the vote. The proposal is for officer's recommendation. All those in favour, please show. 3, 4, 5, 6. That's 7 against. 2. That is approved. I won't say it's passed, it's approved.
Something's united there. I don't know what it is.
Right, we'll move on to B25. What time is it? It's only 8 o'clock.
Much more fun than we had.
Right, P25 S0547. And we're in Wallingford, and the planning officer is Andy Heron.
Oh,
I'm just sat in the paper. I'll see my left-hand man with a scribe. I think just changed.
I mean, I
He just scribbled his pad. Right. Carry on, Andy, when you're ready.
Thank you, Chair. The officer recommendation is for approval, subject to the conditions listed in Appendix 4. I'd like to inform you that an additional condition has been recommended by our ecology officer to ensure that a habitat management and monitoring plan is submitted to ensure the development delivers on-site biodiversity net gain. I'd also like to clarify there's a typo in para 7.6. Our latest housing supply statement proves that we have a supply of 4.5 years, not stated 4.2. The application is referred to committee following an objection from Wellington Town Council to have raised highway safety and access concerns, biodiversity concerns, and consider that the proposal will be an overdevelopment of the site. The site forms part of the rear garden of 10 Queen's Avenue, detached two-storey dwelling within Wallingford. Neighbouring dwellings are located to the north and east. A paddock is situated to the west, whilst the large housing development is currently under construction to the south and west. Vehicle access is taken by a private access track, which runs the Queen's Avenue to the east. Outline planning permission is sought for the erection of 9 chalet-style dwellings, comprising of 3 pairs of 2-storey semi-detached dwellings and 3 detached chalet-style dwellings. All matters are reserved apart from access and layout. An application was previously refused by officers, and although dismissed at appeal, was only refused based on the amenity of future occupants. This refusal was concerned with overlooking by the future occupants of the dwellings approved at the development to the northwest, which forms Phase 5, the Highcroft development. It is important to note that the previous appeal decision would have been allowed if it weren't for the concerns regarding the amenity of future occupants, with the inspector determining that the development was acceptable in terms of highway safety, access, layout, drainage and tree loss. This appeal decision carries significant weight. It is therefore advised that all other issues other than the impact of the development on the amenity of future occupants are not revisited. To overcome the previous reason for refusal, the dwellings to the west of the site have moved a minimum of 1.4 metres from the site boundaries to the east. Although only indicative at this stage, the style of the dwellings are also proposed to be chalet-style dwellings to help reduce any impact in terms of privacy. The indicative drawings show that the proposed dwellings will now only have first floor windows on the north or east elevations, rather than on the rear elevations towards the proposed Highcroft dwellings. This will help overcome a loss in privacy towards future occupants of the development. Concerns about overlooking and loss of privacy are not for consideration now, as appearance of the dwellings, including the layout of rooms and window positions, is a reserved matter. Finally, I would like to confirm that no objections have been received from specialist officers. Our tree officer has raised concern with regards to soft landscaping as part of the overall development and how this will be achieved. Landscaping is a reserved matter and is not a matter under consideration for this outline permission. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Andy. Okay. No representative from the Parish Council, so we'll go straight to an objector. He was Craig White. Right. Sorry, Craig Wright. Is it you?
Yes. Good evening.
Online. Sorry. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Welcome, Craig. You have 5 minutes from starting to speak.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Craig Wright and I live at 12 Queen's Avenue, immediately next to the proposed development site. And we would like to object to the proposed development under 4 key headings. Thank you. Overdevelopment, access rights, traffic impact, and biodiversity net gain. Next slide, please. In terms of overdevelopment, the proposal to erect 9 additional houses would increase the overall number of houses in Queen's Avenue by around 22%, creating increased traffic congestion, pressure on parking and local infrastructure. The proposed density represents a crammed development and can be appropriately described as an example of any town architecture. The dwellings would be situated in tight plots and have a cul-de-sac layout, which is in contrast to the existing grain of development, which is characterised by detached dwellings set in spacious plots. Next slide, please. What we've tried to show here on the left-hand side is a before in the current state, and right-hand side is a future state. So in the current state, you can see it's characterized by detached houses with large gardens. And on the right-hand side, we've got a new cram development with a number of undersized gardens, and at least 3 of those properties overlooking our property at number 12, therefore reducing our privacy, which we've enjoyed for the previous 8 years. Next slide, please. In terms of access rights, the developer's submission incorrectly depicts the development site edged in red in the left-hand diagram, suggesting that he owns the Vets car park, the private road and the footpath leading to number 10. But all the above are actually owned by numbers 12, 14, 16 and 18 Queen's Avenue. Therefore, the developer only has access and egress rights to and from number 10. But by stating that he owns a road, he's claiming that he can increase the width of it from 3.8 to 4.8 metres. Next slide, please. What we've tried to show here is the actual private road and footpath ownership. So the left-hand diagram is our property, number 12 Queen's Avenue, the land registry submission. So it clearly shows in red shading that we own the private road and the footpath in front of our house. And in amber shading is property owned by numbers 14, 16 and 18 Queen's Avenue, not number 10 Queen's Avenue. On the right-hand side is simply a photograph showing the private road and the pathway immediately in front of our house, which we own. Next slide, please. There are implications to this access rights issue. Highways approved the revised condition proposal, but with the following condition. As the access drive is private access, rights will need to be granted prior to work starting on site. Waste Management approved the revised proposal, but with the following caveat. A signed indemnity form will be required from all relevant landowners where our vehicles will access prior to collections commencing. Therefore, the developer will be unable to deliver, as the owners of the Vets car park, private road and footpath will not agree to the widening of the road or the provision of the indemnity. Next slide, please. In terms of traffic impact, the proposal for 24 parking spaces will need to cater for the new residents and any visiting guests, and is likely to be insufficient, resulting in overspill into Queen's Avenue and potentially the larger Wantage Road. The proposed development can only be accessed by crossing the Vets car park, which is well used with cars regularly entering or exiting the car park. Queen's Avenue is used as a pick-up or drop-off point for children attending the new school situated on Site B immediately behind Queen's Avenue, which is scheduled to open in September next year. This development will potentially result in increased third-party property damage or third-party personal injury to potentially children and animals. Next slide, please. What we've tried to show here is the current traffic congestion from the top and bottom of Queen's Avenue leading into the Vets car park. The bottom right-hand picture is the Vets car park last Saturday afternoon, and the vet surgery was actually shut at that time. So those vehicles are all overspill vehicles from Queen's Avenue. Next slide, please. In terms of biodiversity net gain is mandatory under the Town and Country Planning Act 1990 and also the Environment Act. But all the mature trees and bushes were removed from the site by the developer in March 2023, immediately following purchase of the site, as evidenced by the below extract from the preliminary ecological report. So the left-hand picture shows number 10 with all the trees, the mature trees, and the right-hand picture is as it exists now with all the trees removed. And the only mature trees shown on that picture are actually are outside number 10. Next slide, please. The legal requirement is that the developer must make up for this original impact on the habitat, as well as delivering 10% biodiversity net gain. But there'll be no net biodiversity gain resulting from this development. And Ben Morgan of the Free Forestry commented, "I must recommend refusal of this application. They, the developer, still fail to comply with various policies of the South Oxfordshire Local Plan and the Council's Joint Design Guide as they relate to the requisite provision of further tree planting." Next slide, please.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Wright. Thank you. Committee, have we got any questions for Mr. Wright? Raise a number of points. I must say we are aware of the legal requirement. The legal issue is nothing to do with the planning commission. It's a civil issue. I know it's annoying, but that is the situation. Yeah, a civil issue. Okay, thank you. No questions. No questions. We'll move on. Thank you very much, Mr. Wright. You're able to say that. Our next speaker is Jake Collins. Welcome, Jake, again. Thank you.
Chairman, members of the committee, thank you for the opportunity to address you this evening. I would commend the recommendation to you. I would, however, like to briefly comment on the scheme.
Jake, I'm having trouble hearing you.
You having trouble hearing me?
Yeah,
Sorry.
You're a long way away.
So I've been in a hearing today, and my voice is going a little bit. So apologies for that. I'll try a little bit harder. As noted in the report, a previous outline application for the provision of 9 dwellings on the site in a comparable form and layout to that proposed was refused by the council and subsequently dismissed at appeal. However, in the appeal decision, the inspector opined that all matters, including all of those matters raised by the previous speaker, were acceptable, save for one issue concerning the effect of the physical presence of plots 1, 2, and 9 in terms of their mass and bulk on the amenity of the occupiers of future properties to the west. At that time, each of plots 1, 2, and 9 were proposed to be two-storey in scale. Notwithstanding the fact that the distance of the proposed dwellings from those to the west significantly exceeds the council's desired guidelines for what is an effective flank-to-rear relationship, each of plots 1, 2, and 9 have now been amended from two-storey to chalet style. Moreover, the indicative details show that these dwellings, with an eaves height of only 3 metres towards the boundary with these properties, and with ridge lines shown parallel to that boundary and pushed further away from the boundary, such that the highest parts of dwellings are substantially further from that shared boundary. These amendments significantly reduce the physical presence, mass, and bulk of these plots, and can be secured and controlled as such at reserved matter stage. Accordingly, and irrespective of compliance with the design guide, the revised details fully address and overcome the single issue raised by the previous appeal inspector. I will, however, briefly comment on what the previous speaker said in respect of biodiversity net gain. In this particular case, a biodiversity net gain of 10% is being achieved through a combination of on-site mitigation measures and off-site purchase of credits, which is fully compliant with legislative requirements. Given such, and the fact that all technical matters remain wholly acceptable, the scheme would comply with the local plan and the limited weight to be afforded to the neighbourhood plan. Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry, sure. Okay. Pretty, are there any questions for Mr. Collins? That's rather.
Why 9 and not 10?
I'm going to blame the inspector. The inspector said 9 worked.
But he didn't say 10 wouldn't work.
He didn't have 10 in front of him.
Back to the same question.
Same argument. Are there any more questions? Councillor Sadler.
Could you just speak about, the previous speaker talked about this driveway and the ownership of that driveway and the risk that that's going to be widened in some way, because, well, can you speak about that? Because that outline with does suggest that number 10 owns that access, which is being kind of refuted.
So when you make a planning application, you can put your red line around land beyond your control, provided you serve notice on freehold owners of that land. And that has been done in this case. My client has an access right to utilise that land, which they believe is unfettered in legal terms. And if there is a single matter to be heard, that will be heard outside of the planning process.
Just that word unfettered, that implies that your client believes that they would have permission to have access to that land, irrespective of how many houses were built there. Is that correct?
I will answer a planning question. That is their understanding and belief, yes.
Okay, I see no further questions. Yeah, thank you, Jay.
Chairman, can I propose a site visit for this one? For numerous reasons. Obviously, I'd like to see how wide the drive really is. I'd like to know what's within this cul-de-sac here. And I'd just like to see how the whole thing's meant to be working.
Is that seconded?
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
councillor Keyshaw. Okay. Proposal for a site visit. All those in favour of a site visit? Can
May I
please
say
show.
something as a ward member?
No, we don't need reasons for site visits.
Well, okay, fine.
Right, yeah. So say, who's in favour of a site visit? Can't hear, sorry. Yeah, well, the councillor on the same way, well, Right. I've still got that vote. All those in favour of a site visit, can you please show? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Against? 1, 2, 3. So we're going for a site visit. That's end of discussion today.
Okay, we're going for a site visit to look at two articles to judge the immunity of one thing that doesn't exist against another thing.
Well, yeah, I can't go against what the majority says then.
Yeah.
No, you voted for it. You can't go against it.
I voted against it.
No, I know.
Yeah, no, you voted for
Just
it.
passing comment, that's all.
We'll go for the site visit. Thank you, Mr. Whitty. Adrian's coming back.
Yeah, I know.
Adrian might be on the site.